Look, man.
What you got there, B?
Boss called, boss fell, man. You know what I'm talking about?
What you got there, B?
We had $2 Tuesday, man. We the king good, man. You know what I'm talking about? And I brought the body with me, man. It's a casket, man. Give me a few pallbearers to carry this shit tomorrow, man.
Rest in peace, my nigga Nut, man. Out here 9-2 with this shit. You know what I'm talking about? Most definitely, most definitely.
What's going on, bro?
Nut, yeah, long live Nut. The fuck you mean? Long live Nut. The fuck you mean, boy?
This is Linton Blackwell, a 44-year-old Atlanta rapper and father of twin girls who was shot 17 times in the back by an off-duty police officer outside a Buckhead bar on October 11th, 2025. Every single bullet entered from behind. But here's what makes this tragedy even more devastating. 6 years earlier, Linton's cousin Jimmy Hill lost his own daughter, 21-year-old Jimmy Atchison, to another Atlanta police shooting. As we dig into the evidence and witness accounts, you'll discover why this case has sparked outrage across Atlanta and raised urgent questions about police accountability that remain unanswered. Linton Blackwell was known in Atlanta's hip-hop scene as B Green. He grew up in the East Lake Meadows housing project, a place so violent it earned the nickname Little Vietnam. This wasn't some privileged kid playing gangster for the cameras. This was a man who truly lived the streets he rapped about.
Gang, you ain't in the loop, boy, you ain't gang. Fought 5 man down, spin your block, that's on gang. On the shot, for the Glock, white out, lights out.
Someone who turned his painful origins into a clothing brand bearing that same name as a badge of survival and entrepreneurial ambition.
I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a hustler. See, I used to sell can. My granddad, he used to goddamn crush can, you know what I mean? Like, I'm from the project. Everybody in the neighborhood, they used to bring my granddad a can. I used to sell candy. I used to sell goddamn Kool-Aid at school. I used to pump gas, you know what I'm saying?
But B Green was so much more than his past. He was a devoted father to 15-year-old twin daughters, Dynasty and Destiny, who remember him as someone who constantly pushed them to be authentic and lead rather than follow. B Green ran a legitimate shuttle service for upscale Atlanta hotels and was an artist who collaborated with some of Atlanta's most respected names in hip-hop, including Trouble and Bankroll Fresh on the track You Ain't Street, this song that's been viewed over 13 million times on YouTube. Here's the haunting part about that collaboration. All 3 artists featured on that track are now dead. Bankroll Fresh was killed in a studio shootout in 2016 where over 50 shell casings littered the scene. Trouble was shot once in the chest during a home invasion in 2022. And now B Green, 17 bullets to the back. On that October night, B Green went to 5 Paces Inn, a bar in Atlanta's upscale Buckhead neighborhood with his friend William Stanley. This was supposed to be a regular night out, until off-duty Atlanta police officer Gerald Walker, who was working security at the bar wearing a t-shirt with an APD emblem, encountered B Green and Stanley when they arrived around 11:30. That interaction at the door would later become crucial evidence because it establishes that Officer Walker personally searched both men at entry, that he interacted with B Green directly, and that everything seemed calm. There was no hostility, threat, or indication of the violence that was about to unfold. That was until an altercation broke out inside 5 Paces Inn. The details of what sparked it remain unclear, but B Green became involved in some kind of dispute with another patron. Stanley, who had momentarily stepped away, came back to help de-escalate the situation. And here's where the story takes a critical turn, because Officer Walker was also there, helping to break up the fight. He wasn't just observing from a distance, he was actively involved in calming things down, working alongside Stanley to separate the parties. After the altercation, B. Green left the bar and headed toward the rear parking lot on Cane Hill Place. He walked to his vehicle, a black SUV he used for his shuttle business, and according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, B. Green retrieved an item from his car and placed it in his waistband. Authorities claim this item was a firearm, though the ownership of the gun recovered at the scene has never been confirmed. Officer Walker, who had been following B. Green to the parking lot, claimed he observed this action and perceived it as a deadly threat. What happened next is where the competing narratives diverge sharply. The official police version says Walker issued commands related to the weapon, that B. Green ignored these commands, and that Walker, fearing for his life, discharged his service weapon. But here's what makes that story so hard to swallow. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's autopsy revealed that Linton Blackwell was shot 17 times, with 2 bullets to the upper back, 1 to the buttocks, and 14 more across his mid and lower back.
Begin tonight with that Buckhead bar shooting. A local family speaking out after their loved one, 44-year-old Linton Blackwell, was shot and killed by an off-duty Atlanta police officer.
It happened around 11:30 that night on October 12th near the Five Paces Inn bar in Buckhead. Fox Eye's Larry Spruill joins us live tonight. Larry, you spoke with the family.
Yeah, Russ, we spoke for about 20 minutes tonight, and his cousin tells me he still cannot believe that his cousin was shot at this Five Paces bar here in Buckhead over 10 times. And tonight, he's speaking on behalf of his cousin.
I got a call at 1 o'clock, 1 in the morning, and somebody said, my friend said, hey man, I hope you said now your cousin gone. And I said, huh?
Jimmy Hill remembers the exact moment he got the news about his cousin, 44-year-old Linton Blackwell. Hill says his cousin was a father and a family man.
And he loved his family. He really loved his family. And he was well respected in the community. The community loved him. They respected him. He loved him. He gave respect. And he showed love to a lot of people.
Blackwell was shot and killed by an off-duty Atlanta police officer earlier this month near the Five Paces Inn bar in Buckhead.
Ex-job officer working a job at 41 Irby Avenue, Five Paces Bar, responded to security requesting a disruptive patron. He responded to the location and encountered a patient in the back parking lot who was trying to re-enter the establishment.
I couldn't believe it. And tears started coming out of my eyes.
Now, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the officer was working an extra job nearby when he heard an argument between Blackwell and another person. Police reports state Blackwell went to his car and came back with a gun. That's when the officer yelled commands and shot Blackwell multiple times. I got my hands on the autopsy report, and it shows multiple gunshots in Blackwell's back and butt.
14 shots to the back. How you justify that? There's no way you can justify that. That was cold-blooded murder.
When you found out 14 times in the back, what were you thinking?
First, I had to get over the anger, and I still ain't got over it. Because, how can you do that?
And that's one of the many questions Hill said they asked the Fulton County District Attorney's Office today. Also, this is not the first time one of their loved ones was killed by police. I'm working on that part of the story, all new tonight at 11.
Every single wound was posterior, and not one bullet entered from the front. For all 17 shots to hit B. Green's back, he would have had to be facing away from Officer Walker the entire time. He couldn't have been pointing a gun at the officer or advancing towards him. The physical evidence tells a story that contradicts the claim of imminent threat. William Stanley, B. Green's friend who had been with him all night, heard the gunshots and rushed to the parking lot. What he witnessed has become one of the most damning pieces of testimony in this case. Stanley says he saw Walker continuing to fire even after B. Green had already fallen to the ground. He shouted at the officer, asking why he was still shooting, but the bullets kept coming. Walker emptied his entire magazine, all 17 rounds, into a man's back. Stanley later told reporters that B. Green was not facing the officer when the shooting started, that he posed no visible threat, and that the shooting seemed excessive from the very first shot. Another witness, Timothy Nixon, has corroborated elements of this account, emphasizing the need for accountability in what he described as an execution. The autopsy findings make it impossible to reconcile Walker's actions with any reasonable standard of self-defense. 2 shots to the upper back, 1 to the buttocks, and 14 more to the mid and lower back create a pattern that forensic experts would describe as overkill. And here's something that should concern everyone. Officer Walker has a documented disciplinary history. Since joining the Atlanta Police Department in 2023, Walker has accumulated 7 internal complaints, and 6 were substantiated, meaning investigators found them credible. These violations included 3 incidents related to body-worn camera protocols and 1 concerning arrest procedures. At the time of the shooting, Walker was in an active reckoning period, essentially a probationary status where further violations could lead to escalated consequences. This means the department knew Walker had problems following protocols, yet he was still allowed to work off-duty security jobs. Walker had 1 Category A violation with a 1-year reckoning period and 3 Category B violations with 3-year reckoning periods. These weren't minor oversights, they were substantiated breaches, including repeated failures to activate body-worn cameras, the very tools designed to provide transparency in situations exactly like this one. So we have an officer with a troubled record who couldn't consistently follow camera protocols, working an off-duty security job, who fires 17 shots into a man's back and claims self-defense. We have witnesses saying the victim wasn't threatening anyone. We have an autopsy proving every bullet came from behind. And we have a family demanding answers that still haven't come.
B. Green's family has been vocal in their grief and anger. His cousin Darius Blackwell said that if the shooting was justified, the police should prove it, and if it wasn't, they need to be honest.
14 shots to the back, how you justify that? There's no way you can justify that. That was cold-blooded murder.
B. Green's ex-partner, Erica Bowtry, described him as a motivational figure who taught his girls to be leaders and be themselves. B. Green's manager, Timothy Coleman, who comes from a military background, has been clear in demanding accountability. He stresses this isn't about hating cops, but about ensuring that when an officer takes a life, especially in questionable circumstances, there are real consequences and transparency. The family's attorney, Gabe Banks, has pointed to red flags in the shooting's justification. How do you justify 17 shots to the back as self-defense? How do you reconcile Walker's claim of feeling threatened with the reality that B. Green was facing away? How do you explain continuing to fire after the target is already down? These questions demand answers, yet as of today, no charges have been filed. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation took over the case immediately after the shooting. Their investigation remains ongoing. Once complete, they'll forward findings to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, which will decide whether to present the case to a grand jury. But investigations like these can drag on for months or years, leaving families in limbo. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Police Department is conducting its own internal affairs review. Walker's been reassigned to the Force Usage Review assignment, an administrative role that keeps him off the streets but allows him to keep his badge, service weapon, and salary. He's barred from working extra jobs like the security gig that put him at 5 Paces Inn that night, but he's still employed and protected. And then there's the body camera footage. On December 1st, 2025, the Atlanta City Council unanimously passed a resolution urging the police department to allow B. Green's family secure access to that footage. It took a special resolution from the city's legislative body just to get the family basic transparency. And even with that resolution, the footage hasn't been released. The GBI cites the ongoing investigation, but that excuse rings hollow. This brings us to the most heartbreaking connection in this story. B. Green's family knew this pain before. 6 years earlier, they lived through almost the exact same nightmare when 21-year-old Jimmy Atchison was killed by Atlanta police officer Sung Kim.
Tonight, family and activists protesting in front of the federal building downtown this afternoon, all in support of a man shot and killed by an Atlanta police officer earlier this year. 11 Alive's Elwin Lopez joins us live with more on what protesters are demanding.
Jimmy Atchison was shot and killed during a federal task force raid in January. His family says he was unarmed and hiding in a closet. But there's no way to know that. Officer Sung Kim wasn't wearing a body cam since federal policy doesn't allow that. Today, Atchison's father and aunt were there among supporters and activists, and they are now calling on the U.S. Attorney to release the case file to District Attorney Paul Howard. They are asking for that so that the DA can look into Officer Kim's actions during that shooting.
Why will he release the 2 files to Paul Howard so Paul Howard can do his job?
The U.S. Attorney says the case file will be released to the DA as soon as confidential material is redacted. In a statement to 11 Alive, the U.S. Attorney says they offered the entire unredacted file to the DA if the DA signed an agreement. That agreement, they say, would protect personal identifiable information. But the U.S. Attorney says the DA refused to sign that agreement, and they are now in the, and I quote, tedious process of redacting the files. In that statement, the U.S. Attorney's Office didn't give us a timeline as to when that redaction of the file would be complete and handed over to the DA's office. And a big change implemented after Atchison's death, Atlanta officers haven't been a part of federal task forces in months. Ryan.
Jimmy Atchison was B. Green's cousin through Jimmy Hill, creating a direct family connection. On January 22, 2019, Atchison was shot once in the face while hiding in a closet during an FBI violent crime task force raid. Officer Kim, a 26-year veteran who had been federally deputized, claimed Atchison made a sudden hand movement he perceived as a deadly threat. Kim fired a single shot that killed him instantly. Here's the critical detail. Jimmy Atchison was completely unarmed. The raid was based on a warrant for an alleged armed robbery, but months after the shooting, a witness named Lynn McFashion came forward with a different account. She said there was no gun because Atchison had been selling pants, borrowed a woman's phone, and simply walked away with it. This revelation raised questions about the warrant's basis, about whether such an aggressive raid was justified, about whether Jimmy Atchison needed to die that day. But by the time this came to light, he was already gone. The officers had already crafted their narrative, and the justice system was grinding toward a conclusion that would devastate his family. For years, it looked like there might be accountability. In December 2022, Officer Sung Kim was indicted on multiple charges, including felony murder, aggravated assault, involuntary manslaughter, and violation of oath.
And tonight with breaking news, a Fulton County grand jury has indicted a former Atlanta police officer in the 2019 shooting that killed 21-year-old Jimmy Atchison. Just hours ago, we got our hands on the indictment signed by Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis.
11 Alive News investigator Kristen Crowley walks us through that indictment and how we got here.
The indictment handed down against Sung Kim charges him with involuntary manslaughter and violation of oath by a public officer. Atchison was shot and killed as a joint FBI and Atlanta police task force tried to arrest him on a warrant. Federal policy at the time did not allow those task forces to use body cameras. Atchison's family says he was unarmed and was given conflicting commands from officers. They say when he got up, he was shot and killed by Kim. The former officer was never charged and retired from the department later that year. We reached out to Atchison's family for comment, and they said the family, alongside the NAACP, will speak on this case Monday morning. We talked with the district attorney's office this evening, and they could not say when a warrant would be issued for Kim's arrest. Atchison's family has filed a $20 million civil rights lawsuit against the city of Atlanta and the FBI.
It was a rare moment when it seemed an officer might face consequences. The Atchison family dared to hope. That hope was crushed on June 3, 2025, when U.S. District Judge Michael Brown dismissed all charges. The judge ruled the shooting was textbook self-defense, finding that Kim's belief that Atchison posed a deadly threat was objectively reasonable.
All charges have been dropped against the retired Atlanta police officer who shot and killed an unarmed man 6 years ago. Sung Kim shot Jimmy Atchison. The 21-year-old was killed after investigators say he ran from officers when they tried to arrest him on an armed robbery warrant. Tuesday, a federal judge ruled that Kim acted in self-defense when he shot Atchison. Kim retired from law enforcement several months after the shooting.
The ruling also granted Kim immunity under the Supremacy Clause because he was acting as a federal officer. Jimmy Hill, Jimmy Atchison's father, was devastated. He said his son's killer had escaped justice through the loopholes of qualified immunity. He launched petitions calling for an appeal, but District Attorney Fani Willis didn't file one until the 30-day window passed.
New tonight, the father of an unarmed man shot and killed by a former Atlanta police officer is demanding an appeal after the charges against him were dropped. A federal judge ruled Sung Kim was immune from prosecution in the 2019 shooting.
Fox 5's Rob Durienzo is at the live desk tonight. And Rob, you spoke with Atchison's father outside the Fulton County Courthouse.
Hey there, Russ, Courtney. Good evening to you both. Well, Jimmy Atchison's father is now in a wheelchair, but despite today's heat, he was still back out in front of the courthouse advocating for his son to anyone who'd listen. He says this ruling won't make him give up his fight for justice.
It was unjust. This ruling was unjust.
A federal judge dismissed the charges against former Atlanta police officer Sung Kim Tuesday, including felony murder.
I was enraged. I was caught off guard.
Kim reportedly shot 21-year-old Jimmy Atchison in 2019 while serving on a federal task force. Atchison was hiding in a closet, unarmed.
I know that's my son and I love him. And he was murdered unnecessarily and unjustified. My son was unarmed, surrendered.
A Fulton County grand jury indicted Kim in 2023, but his lawyers got the case moved to federal court.
This should have stayed state because it was a former Atlanta police officer on loan to a federal task force.
The judge ruled because Kim was on that federal task force, he's immune under the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. The ruling also cited Georgia's self-defense laws.
Is this what America about? This case stands again what America says that it stands for.
Atchison's father refuses to give up the fight for his son.
Try to give thanks to God because he's one that gave me strength and guidance.
The president of the NAACP slammed the ruling, saying it gives, quote, federally deputized officers legal immunity from community oversight and justice.
Who is liberty and justice really for when an officer, a federal officer, can't be held accountable for police misconduct, for murder?
The Georgia NAACP issued a scathing statement calling the dismissal dangerous and disgraceful. They argued it sent a message that officers could kill with impunity, especially in federal task forces that created loopholes shielding bad actors. For Jimmy Hill and his family, the pain was compounded by knowing Jimmy Atchison's death could have been prevented. The warrant was based on contested information. Officers didn't call SWAT, even for a barricaded suspect. They didn't have body cameras because task force policies exempted them. And every choice contributed to a 21-year-old man dying in a closet, unarmed and terrified. And then, 6 years later, the same family endured it again when B. Green was killed. Jimmy Hill has spoken publicly about the connection, describing it as a pattern revealing deep failures in Atlanta police operations. In both instances, officers claimed self-defense despite evidence raising doubts, and in both cases, families fought for basic transparency, with justice moving so slowly that by the time resolution came, if it came at all, the damage was irreparable. The community response to B. Green's death has been sustained. On December 1, 2025, family and supporters packed an Atlanta City Council meeting, demanding transparency and accountability.
We have been discussing here in the Fox 5 newsroom because it involves an off-duty police officer allegedly shooting a man outside of a business in Buckhead. Angelique's been speaking with the family, Angelique Proctor. And Angelique, we know the GBI is investigating this, and the family says they want to see the video of this off-duty cop shooting their loved one. How did this happen? Why is the family so upset?
Well, good afternoon to you, Ariel. Yeah, this family is absolutely devastated. They said they are really just begging for answers. They want to know why their loved one and their father was shot and killed by this off-duty Atlanta police officer. Now, this all happened, this deadly shooting happened to 44-year-old Linton Blackwell back in October behind a dive bar in Buckhead. Now, Blackwell and Erica Bowtry were the parents of twin 15-year-old daughters. You see them there. Family and friends say they were just stunned when the autopsy revealed that Blackwell was actually shot 17 times in the back. And I think it's safe to say, Ariel, that that is what has them so upset. The family wants to see that body cam video, and they say that this deadly shooting has really just turned their lives upside down.
Say I'm okay, but not okay, because we just want to know exactly what happened to him, because we were in each other's lives almost every day. Like, he was present every day, and it's something missing, because we would usually, call him.
They shared stories of B. Green's kindness, his generosity, and his commitment to his daughters and community. They challenged the narrative that he was just another street criminal.
My dad, he was a great father figure. He was the type of person to always help out with my friends, or just an opening person. He was always giving. If I needed anything, he always got me. Even if he didn't have it, he would work very hard to make sure I had it. He would always give me motivational speeches or teach me right from wrong. I was kind of like, he was my best friend.
My dad had he always, even when I did wrong and I was in the wrong sometimes, he'd always create me, and he was forgive me, and always tried to teach me what was right, so I could succeed in life and don't do stuff that he would do, or he always wanted us to be better, and what he would be prepared in life, and be a leader, don't follow the people.
His balloon release memorial drew over 1,500 people. That's not the turnout for someone feared or hated. That's the community mourning someone they loved and respected.
Come and get over. Hey, come and get over. There she go right there. Okay.
B. Green kept East Lake Meadows culturally relevant through his music and presence, serving as a bridge between the streets and something more hopeful. His twin daughters, Dynasty and Destiny, just 15 when they lost their father, have had to process this trauma publicly. In interviews, they've talked about the lessons he taught them about being authentic, about leading instead of following, about not letting anyone dim their light. Those lessons carry even more weight now because they came from a man whose own light was extinguished so violently. Around December 22, 2025, an organization called Futures Without Fear held a holiday brunch for families impacted by gun violence. B. Green was honored alongside other victims, with his 7-year-old nephew, Kingdom Evans, participating in tributes.
7-year-old Kingdom Evans is working through grief.
When he died, I felt emotional, I hated when he died.
The ornament is in honor of his uncle, Lyndon B. Green Blackwell.
I always used to be playing with him and stuff, and he always used to be giving me money.
For those reasons, this Christmas hurts.
How my uncle died? No.
Relatives like Don Evans shared the ongoing emotional toll, describing grief that doesn't fade but transforms into something you carry differently. These gatherings are how traumatized communities try to heal, but genuine healing becomes impossible when accountability never comes, when the same patterns repeat, when another family loses someone to police violence and the system responds with the same delays, the same opacity, the same protection of officers involved.
My message to the youth, you know what I'm saying? My message is, you know, stay focused, pay attention, you know what I'm saying? You know, listen to adults, you know what I'm saying? Listen to your parents, you know what I'm saying? You know, stay prayed up, stack your money, you know what I'm saying? Everything you see ain't what it is, you know what I'm saying? Don't follow my route, you know what I mean?
Those words reveal a man who understood the consequences of the life he'd lived. He wanted better for the next generation, for young people from the same neighborhoods. And yet, despite that wisdom, his efforts to transition into legitimate businesses and doing everything society tells young black men they should do, he still ended up dead with 17 bullets in his back. As of today, 2025, there are still no updates on the investigation. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation lists it among 79 officer-involved shootings in Georgia for the year, with Blackwell's case as number 62, just a number in a database. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.